Welcome, I am Francisco and today we are solving one of the greatest mysteries. What are these little symbols in the zodiac? They are actually groups of stars or constellations. These were used by the ancient Mesopotamians, specifically Babylonians, to represent their gods and symbols, and also as a farming calendar in the sky. Almost all of these constellations are represented by animals, and that's why we call it zodiac. In Greek, zodiakos kyklos means circle of little animals. Let's begin. Aries is the Latin word for ram, and this symbol represents a ram's horns, just like the ones in the ram, which you can clearly see in the constellation. Why not? Originally it was called the farm worker, but the Babylonians changed it to a ram because of Dumuzid. He was an ancient god associated with shepherds, and he was also Inanna's consort. Later in ancient Greece, the constellation of Aries became associated with the flying golden ram that was sacrificed to Zeus. Taurus is a Latin word for bull, and its symbol actually looks like a bull's head. These are the horns, and it has this name because the stars form the profile of a bull's face in a V shape. The symbolism is very old, dating back about 5,000 years. Babylonians called it the bull of heaven, and Egyptians saw it as a sacred bull that was associated with the renewal of life in spring. Remember, this is the constellation that is behind the sun when it rises in April, spring in the northern hemisphere. Gemini is the word for twin. In Babylonian astronomy, the two main stars of these constellations were known as the Great Twins. They were minor gods, and they were called the one who has arisen from the underworld and the mighty king. These were titles of Nergal, the Babylonian god, king of the underworld. But he was also a god of war and fire. Because of this, Nergal was later associated by Christianity with Satan or the devil. Cancer is Latin for crab, so it's commonly represented with a crab. Here it's a sideways 69. I believe these are the claws of the crab, because why not? It's an abstraction, but the crab is very special to us because in Greek mythology, the goddess Hera sent a crab to try to harass Heracles, also known as Hercules, as he battled the water serpent Hydra. So he crushed this crab with his foot, poor little crab. So Hera decided to give him a place of honor in the sky. Leo is the lion, and its symbol looks a lot like a lion, but also like the constellation itself. Leo was one of the earliest recognized constellations, dating back to 4000 BCE. The Greeks identified it with the Nemean lion, a mythological monster who eventually was killed by Heracles. Virgo, also known as the Virgin or the Maiden, is the symbol that is associated with the fish, symbol of Aphrodite. I have another video on the topic of Vesica Pisces, check it out. Virgo is the largest constellation in the zodiac, and it originally represented the Babylonian goddess Shala and her ear of grain. This represents the divine feminine and fertility. The Greek associated it with their fertility goddess Demeter and spring goddess Persephone. Libra are the weighing scales. In Babylonian mythology, the scales were sacred to the sun god Shamash, who was also the patron of truth and justice. The symbol represents balance, with the sun entering this part of the sky in September. And in that time, the days and nights are equal. They are in perfect balance. Scorpio, or what the Babylonians knew as the creature with a burning sting. The Scorpio symbol is very similar to Virgo, but this one has a tail pointing out, not curled in on itself like the maiden. The Greek have a myth about Artemis and Letos sending a scorpion to kill Orion because he wanted to kill every animal on Earth. Sagittarius is the archer, and its symbol, of course, it's an arrow pointing upwards. Babylonians saw it as the god Nergal, the god of death again. He was a centaur-like creature firing an arrow from a bow. In Greek mythology, Sagittarius is usually identified as a centaur, which is half human, half horse. Capricorn means the horned goat, and it dates back to the year 1000 BCE. Babylonians called it the goat fish, as one of the symbols of Enki, the god of water and a trickster. The symbol shows the hoof of a mountain goat and the tail of a fish. In Greek mythology, this goat fed the infant Zeus, becoming sort of a foster mother to him. Her broken horn was then transformed into the cornucopia, or the horn of plenty. Aquarius, that's my sign, he's the water bearer, and the symbol shows the waves of water. Babylonians called this constellation the Great One. It represented the god Enki himself, who was also associated with the destructive floods that they experienced. In ancient Egypt, Aquarius was associated with the annual flood of the Nile in the early spring, around February. Pisces is the Latin plural for fish, and its symbol shows two fish swimming in opposite directions. Babylonian texts from around 1000 BCE call it the fish cord or ribbon, and a Greek legend tells that Aphrodite and Eros shapeshifted, becoming two fish to escape the monster Typhon. They tied themselves together with a cord in order not to lose each other in the Euphrates River. Now we know what these symbols mean. As you can see, Babylonian astronomy and its system of celestial omens had a great influence on the culture of ancient Greece, just like it did the astronomy of Egypt. This resulted in a strong focus on the birth chart of each individual, and that's how Western astrology started. Thank you for watching. Subscribe to this channel. I will see you on the next video.